and welcome to the DOcast. The DOcast is a series of interviews of amazing people who are doing the unthinkable, with topics on how they got started to where they're going and how you can do the same as well. Just as a side note, this is a brand new podcast, so please bear with us as we work out the kinks. My name is Richard Hanley. I have a blog at richardhanleyjr.com and just kickstarted a new food company called Hanley's Foods, which brings me to our sponsor. I'd like to thank Hanley's Foods, Louisiana-inspired natural fresh foods. Starting with Hanley's Sensation Salad Dressing, the best. For decades, you can only find it in restaurants, cookbooks, or in your mom's kitchen. Now it's handcrafted and bottled right here in Louisiana. All with natural ingredients, and portions of the proceeds go to 1% for the planet, which benefits Louisiana's coastline. You gotta try this stuff. It's freaking delicious. You can order it online at hanleysfoods.com or pick up a bottle in Baton Rouge at Calvin's, Calandro's, Our Daily Bread, or Ralph's. Another side note too, we are looking for sponsors, so it needs to be something that I personally know, like, and trust. I don't want to put crap up there that I don't believe in. So if you'd like to be a sponsor, drop us a line at thedocast.net. Today we sit down with a local food blogger and entrepreneur. He's the author of the Bite and Booze blog. He's hosts several TV, radio shows, and podcasts like The Outdoor Shopper, the Bite and Booze radio show, and The Race of Glass. He's been a Master Chef finalist on Fox, and he's working with the cookbook with booze incorporated into a lot of the things. He's also has barbecue sauce in the works, and right now we're at his favorite restaurant, Restaurant IPO in Baton Rouge, sitting down, eating and drinking, having some porters. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ducote.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
All right. So, I just kind of want to go to the beginning of all this. You know, you transitioning to where you are now. So take me back, man. Where'd you grow up?
Well, the brief, long history here. I was born in Baton Rouge at the Old Women's Hospital. I like to say old now, since there's a new one. Not that I could be born at the new one, obviously. My father got transferred to Houston when I was between first and second grade. So I grew up in the suburbs of Houston all the way through high school, and then came back to Baton Rouge to go to LSU. Both of my parents were LSU alum. It's where I always knew I wanted to go. Got a degree in economics and political science, but really majored in tailgating, and was really good at that. And so I took a year off and then said, I need to just keep tailgating. That's what I'm good at. So I went to grad school and got a master's degree in political science. It bought me a couple more football seasons, but ultimately, at the end of it, I kind of said, I learned what I don't want to do. I don't want to be a political scientist or a politician for the rest of my life. So
what was that moment like? Do you remember that? Were you just
caught
up into the moment? Or?
Here's what I remember, and it's happened a couple times in my life now, that it was basically at the beginning of my second year of grad school. So I had finished 1 year of the master's program. I was starting year number 2, and I just wasn't happy about it. I was dreading it, and I was just thinking to myself, this isn't going to be that much fun. And I had just gotten back from spending the whole summer in Ireland, Portugal, Belgium, and the Netherlands, tooling around with a backpack and myself, and really kind of
getting lost.
That was a good summer. That was summer 2006, and I just kind of got lost. And I think I learned a lot about myself that summer, and I got back to school, and I just wasn't feeling it. I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I also knew that I was already a year into grad school, and I only had 2 more semesters, and I'd have a master's degree, so I wasn't going to quit. So I finished it off, and but really still not knowing what I wanted to do, and my thought for a while had been that I wanted to teach, and then I want to get a PhD and be a professor. That's what I thought I wanted to do.
Ultimate teacher.
And maybe there's still a part of me that says that could be something that I do eventually. So that was kind of the angle. Was I was working on the master's in political science, but thinking that maybe the PhD route is what I wanted to do, and then get into academia. But I knew I did not have the calling to be a political scientist for the rest of my life. I didn't want to get a PhD in that. I wasn't passionate about it. And I could tell just by the other students in the room with me that were passionate about political science that I clearly wasn't.
You went to school to learn what you don't want to do.
Right. So I finished my master's degree, and that summer, this was 2007. I was just kind of floundering again and not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. But it's kind of funny because 2007 the economy was actually really strong, and it was still kind of like, hey, I can do whatever I want. There's jobs out there. There was never a fear about anything, and there still never was, because by the end of the summer, another football season was coming around, and a good buddy of mine and I decided that we at least needed to figure out something to have beer money for football season. And so we went in to apply to be substitute teachers with the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. And we were waiting in line to get an application to fill out to be subs. And a lady from the school board office picks us out of the line. This line is 25 people deep, and we're at the back of it. And she comes straight to us and just says, "Can I help y'all with something?" And we were like, "Well, we're waiting in this line. Like a sore thumb. Yeah, we're waiting in this line to get an application so that we can fill it out and to be subs. You could help us by just going and getting us the application, so we don't have to wait in line to get the application, then to fill it out, then to wait in line again to turn it in. Just go get us the applications. That would help us out." And she looked at us,
security,
kind of puzzled, and said, "What did y'all make on the ACT?" And we both looked at her like she was from another planet. So it was just like,
how's that relevant?
Yeah, I was just like, "You mean the test we took in high school?" And she said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Lady, I just got a master's degree. I can tell you what I made on the GRE. I took that to get into the grad school. I don't remember what I made on the ACT. And, I took that junior year of high school, and I went to high school in Texas. The SAT was way more important. I took the ACT once because that's what LSU wanted to get in. But my buddy that was there is from Louisiana, and an incredibly smart guy as well. And he was just like, "I'm pretty sure I got like a 31, which is an obnoxiously high score."
I think I got like a 10.5.
So like her jaw dropped, and she's like, "No way." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I did that well." And
it's like, okay,
that kind of rung a bell, because I knew I made a 12.20 on the SAT, and I was just like, I think if he made a 31 on the ACT, I think probably I made like in the upper 20, 27, something like that. And she was just like, "Okay, y'all don't need to be subs, y'all need to be full-time teachers." And so we were just like, well,
okay, what have we gotten ourselves into now?
Yeah, we really just wanted applications to be subs for beer money for football season. Like, what are you getting us into? So she pulled us out of the line and brought us to another office to meet with somebody else at the school board, and was just like, "These guys both have college degrees. This is what they made on the ACTs. We need them in the classroom full time." And so they talked to us about it for a little while, and we sat there and basically said, "Here's our demands. No elementary school, because neither of us wanted to teach that. Put us at the same school, and it has to be a decent neighborhood." Right, like it has to at least be a decent neighborhood. I mean, I know it's an East Baton Rouge Parish Public School, but we don't want to necessarily go to Glen Oaks or something. Right. Just like no offense to Glen Oaks, my mom went there actually, but that was back in the 70s. Things have changed. But so anyway,
had little demands on where y'all want to go, and if they can meet these. Guidelines.
So they basically said, here's your application. Here's all the other things we need, like your official college transcripts and letters of reference and all this kind of stuff. They're just like, spend the rest of the day getting all this stuff put together. Come back here at 9 a.m. And this is like 2 days before school starts. Come back here tomorrow morning, ready to go on interview. So we did. We got everything together that we needed to. We showed up the next day, dressed with suits on, ready to go to interviews. And they're just like, "All right, good news. We've got 2 math openings at Lee High School. We're sending you there to interview with the principal right now." So Lee is, it's about as good a neighborhood as you can get in Baton Rouge. It's in South Downs. It's, most of the kids are coming from Gardier or from the Valley Park area. This was 2007. We'll get to that part of the story, but. Anyway, so we show up, and one at a time we interview with the principal, and then the math department head, and then we're sitting out in the waiting in the lobby of the school's office, basically, talking about how the interviews went. And we both thought that we did very well, and I just had this immense feeling like they needed us way more than we needed them, and that for them to have two able-bodied males coming in, willing to be full-time teachers in a East Baton Rouge Parish public school at that time, especially teaching math or science, which is where they have the critical shortage of teachers anyway. I was just like, they're about to come out here and just like not let us go. You know, they need us. And my buddy Brent really thought like they had one opening, and he felt like we were interviewing against each other, and that's why they brought us in there separately. And I was just like, well, look, dude, if they come out here and offer me a job and not you, I'll turn them down. And you do the same thing. Like,
right.
we told them, put us at the same school. If y'all want us both, you got us both. If you want one of us, you get neither. Sorry. And I mean, I felt like we were in a position to make that demand, or it was no skin off our back if we didn't get it, you know?
Okay, we'll go.
Right. Oh, well.
Get an ice cream truck.
But sure enough, they came out, and an exact quote from the principal of Lee High School at the time: "We feel like angels have come down from heaven and blessed us. Y'all are both hired. Tomorrow," and that following day was the next day of school, the first day of school in 2007. He was like, "Tomorrow, y'all actually have to go do more paperwork. You have to go get fingerprinted and background checks and all that kind of stuff," which is good that they make teachers do that. But he was just like, "So just come back on Monday, and you know, we'll have your classrooms ready for you."
And then you went up there, set up your classroom, and so
that was it.
So yeah, take me through that. And then 2 years go by, you do that, and then you become a coach.
Yeah, so actually it was that first fall that I was there teaching math. I was teaching Algebra 1 and financial math, and that first year, the guy that was gonna be the baseball coach had never coached baseball in his life either, but he left to take a job somewhere else. So they had no baseball coach at all, and so they were about to just not have a baseball team at a Baton Rouge High School.
We must save the baseball team.
And so that's kind of the attitude that I took. And I had never coached baseball either. I had played baseball a good bit growing up, but I had never tried to coach it, even on like a little league level or anything. But I was just like, look, if there needs to be a coach in order to have a team here, I'll do it.
So did you like go talk to people? Did you read like How to Coach High School Kids for Dummies or something?
I mean, I did some internet research and watched some YouTube videos.
Amazing.
And I mean, it was at that first year, it was let's just go out and throw a ball around and take some batting practice and see what happens, you know. And it was tough. Fortunately, my buddy Brent that was there teaching with me, I convinced him to be my assistant coach, and
that's awesome.
And so the two of us put a baseball team together, and we played ball that year, and then the next year we actually grew that substantially, and that's a whole other story. I mean, I enjoyed those years teaching and coaching, and I very much disliked the bureaucracy of education and all the crap that I had to deal with. Dealing with the administrators and other teachers was way worse than dealing with kids. And at Lehigh, it's an inner city school.
It's almost like a corrupt system.
Most of the parents that I ever had to deal with were just very appreciative that I was willing to spend time with their kids. So the parents weren't a big deal. The kids, I actually really enjoyed forming relationships with them. It was the other teachers and the administrators and all that I had issues with.
Teacher politics.
And so anyway, after it was the same kind of thing when I told you when I realized I was done with grad school. I knew I was done.
Yeah, something clicked, a light bulb.
It was basically after the first semester of my second year of teaching. So 3 semesters in, this would have been winter break of 2009 or whatever, or 2008. I realized that this just wasn't for me. That I was having too much trouble getting through the bureaucracy of it. And I was having, our food is arriving at Restaurant IPA.
Thank you, shrimp and grits I got here. It looks amazing.
Oh, look at that. That'll work.
Wow, what you got there, Jay?
This is a special, it's a fried pork chop sandwich.
That is massive.
The pork actually, a whole side of pig was brought in here, and Chef Chris Wadsworth butchered it himself. It's from Chapapila Farms on the North Shore, so it's a Louisiana-raised, farm-raised pork. That he has turned into, he's got the loin cut into a pork chop and then breaded it and deep fried it with some greens and tomatoes and pickled onions.
That looks amazing. And I got these shrimp and grits here with Louisiana Gulf shrimp and some kind of brown gravy sauce. It looks pretty amazing.
It does look good.
So, real quick, just that transition. I like how you can realize that you're in a situation that you're not comfortable in and you pivot. You switch gears. You go after what it is that you're passionate about and what you want to do. So how did that transition to the food blogger you are now?
Yeah.
Were you always into tech? Did you really get into blogging? How did you transition to that?
I'll get there, because so I realized that teaching long term wasn't really for me, and that I wanted to get out of that level of the education system, and that there was just too much holding me down, and not enough ability to be creative and do fun things, and anyway. So, but I also knew that the last thing I wanted to do was let any of those kids down, or have them feel like I abandoned them, because they've been, and especially, I mean, it was baseball is what kept me there, because that school had not had the same baseball coach for more than one season in like 6 years. Every year they had a new coach, and the kids there, I mean, obviously there's no kids there as long as
changing up.
They're used to having a new coach every year, and I was determined that would not happen. That what I built that first year of coaching, that I would be willing to coach a second year, and that those kids that were seniors that second year would have the same coach, and that those freshmen would have the same coach their sophomore year, and so. I made that happen, and then honestly, it's just one of those things that whether everything works out for a reason or not in life, I don't know, and I don't try to be that, Buddha-like, but
right.
But I feel like it's one of those times where things just worked out right for me, because the school district actually decided to close Lehigh after that year, and.
Okay.
They closed it down and sent all the students to 5 different schools: Woodlawn, Tara, Broadmoor, McKinley, and Bel Air. And so it was just a real easy out for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to leave and abandon the kids and all that. The school got closed, and I said, no, I'm not going somewhere else to teach. Yeah. So I got a job working for the state of Louisiana, in the Department of Health and Hospitals, doing grant research and grant writing and policy research in the field of health information technology. And I knew nothing about healthcare, and I knew nothing about information technology, but there I was writing grants about health information technology, and I was going from teaching and coaching to, at a computer 9 to 5.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, just bored out of my mind. And so it was actually September 2009, about a month, maybe a month and a half after I started working for the state, that I got this idea. And the idea was, I'm stuck behind a computer, but I can't physically be productive 100% of the time on something that I care nothing about and that bores the hell out of me.
Right. You're stuck in 4 walls, staring at a screen.
Right. So I said, I've got to make that productive somehow, but it's not, but I mean, there's just got to be something to kill some time here. And then it kind of hit me one day, and I looked at a credit card receipt, and I was like, damn, I spend a lot of money eating and drinking. And I go to a lot of different restaurants, and I know the food scene here pretty well, and I love it. Let me just start writing about everything that I eat and drink.
You're already a little comfortable with computers with that day job.
Right. I mean, just with word processing and stuff like that. I knew nothing about blogging. I knew nothing about really the ins and outs of social media. I knew nothing about, the technical side of HTML coding or anything like that. I mean, that was, I picked that up as I went. I just said, I'm going to start writing about everything I eat and drink.
Right, so, and I think that's a really great point too, just to kind of show how, you don't have to necessarily, the lights aren't always going to be green. It's just like when, you're really passionate about something, you just jump into that. You put a day in the calendar, you say, I'm going to do it. I know what I don't like, and I don't like doing what I'm doing now. Like, for example, with, I had this plan where I was going to bike the Mississippi about 100 miles from downtown Baton Rouge to downtown New Orleans. And I had this whole map of planning and training where I was going to go, all right, these 3 months I was going to get up to 10 miles, then 20, then 50. And there's been one point where I was going to do 100 miles in one single stretch. The day came, I see it on the calendar, it's 3 days before. I haven't done 3 miles on the bike. I'm like, oh shit, oh well, screw it, let's do it. And I hop on the bike and I just did it. I think that's a good point that you make where, sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I really appreciate about how you did with, leaving school, or, realizing that aspect of school that wasn't you when you went to teaching, when you left teaching, when you're at the day job going to this food blogger. So yeah, bring me in on that process. When did you completely flip the switch where you say, hey, this is something that is really, this is the future. This has legs.
It took, it's another thing that I would tell every blogger. It took me about a year and a half of doing it as a hobby before I even entertained the thought that maybe this could turn into something else. And then once I entertained that thought, it was about 6 months later that I quit my day job and have been doing this full time.
And you already started gain.
But I put a year,
a living from that?
I put a year and a half of pretty hard work into growing the blog, growing the brand, getting my name out there.
No one liking it, no one commenting it,
right.
knowing view. Sometimes it's almost demoralizing.
So it takes a little while to get that out there. I had some pretty fortunate breaks along the way. Part of it was me going after it and me just doing it, and part of it was, I think, just some fortunate things that have happened, although it's probably all correlated to some degree or another. I started the blog in September 2009. By that January, I had approached a magazine about me doing some food writing for them. And so this was Town Favorites magazine. So I actually, I wrote a monthly column for Town Favorites, a restaurant review, for a full year. Also in 2010, I had a recipe get selected for the Tony Shastri's tailgating cook-off, which I ended up winning, which got me a good bit of buzz, a good bit of press. It put me on a lot of people's maps, just around Baton Rouge. I got to do some TV interviews. I got a good bit of, advocate and business report kind of press, just to where those people started to know who I was and knew that I had a food blog and that there was a local blog that they could turn to for food type stuff, which was pretty big at the time because there was nobody else really doing that at all.
Right, especially locally. And we have such a good, diverse, profile of food in this area that's never really been explored till now.
Right. That Baton Rouge could never. They didn't have a food blogger to turn to for anything, and they could look at other cities and see something like that. But I was it for Baton Rouge, and so that definitely helped me out as well. And then it was late 2010, and then announced in 2011 that I got cast on MasterChef. That I was named one of the top 100 amateur chefs in the world, and got flown out to Los Angeles for 10 days to film TV with Gordon Ramsay. And I didn't make it very far in the competition after being in the top 100, but it was still a really cool experience and kind of an eye-opening experience for me, and getting to see the behind the scenes of the TV set and getting involved in that world, and I really liked that, and I said, this is something that I want to continue to do.
Yeah, you get to crack your knuckles on that kind of territory and get a little comfortable with it. Honestly too, with I was inspired too by you to actually do this podcast. I see you as a guy that just goes out and does things and just see where it goes, and the fact how with podcasting, something that you just kind of did the same thing with. So that's what I really like about it, how you can just get out and just test things and make it happen. So tell me that.
Along the lines of just doing it, that April, this is April 2011, is when I started the Bite and Booze radio show. Okay. And that came about for no other reason than when I heard that Guaranteed Broadcasting was switching the format of 107.3 FM to an all-talk station. I emailed them and said, this is what I do, this is who I am, I've got this food blog, I think it would make great radio content, an hour of food and beverage talk radio every week, interviewing local chefs, talking to food bloggers, talking to stuff like that. And they said, yeah, let's do it. So then I had a radio show. Then I was able to start getting some sponsors and advertisers, and that's when it clicked and said, maybe I can do this full time. Maybe there is a way. And so it took till the end of that summer to actually quit my day job, which was working for a nonprofit at the time that was funded by the Department of Health and Hospitals. Still the same job. Basically, I helped them write those grants for health information technology. We got the grants, and then the nonprofit that was administering the grants hired me off of the state to help them out. But it still was never a passion of mine, and I knew it. I knew that for at least 6 or 8 months that I was just kind of spinning my wheels. I mean, they let me go film MasterChef and just leave town for 10 days and take vacation to do it.
This guy's
right. They knew it was a matter of time, but I was a good writer and valuable to them when I was there, and I'm very grateful to them for allowing me to have the flexibility to pursue what I was really passionate about instead of holding me down or trying to stifle my creativity there.
They just kind of let you test your own
right,
waters and
right.
see where it goes.
And so when we had that talk, they knew it. But what's the question that you were trying to ask?
No, just this is kind of off it too. I saw when I was doing a little bit of research on you that you were able to raise some money by the 225 fund. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
What's
so
that about?
myself and Tommy Talley, local filmmaker, we're producing we have filmed. It's still in the editing process, but basically a web-based documentary about taking a South Louisiana food and beverage writer and radio host that's a fat ass like myself.
That's just the consequences of doing,
right, but since that's the consequences of doing what I do, the idea was to film a documentary where I try to do what I do and be healthier at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it means, you know what, if I keep eating and drinking like this, that's going to kill me.
Taking off your life.
Right. So if I'm going to do that for a living, I also need to make sure I'm getting better exercise. I need to make sure that when applicable, I can eat healthier meals. I need to make sure that when I'm just eating at home and I'm not eating out, that I'm doing that the right way. And so for 4 months, we filmed a documentary about that lifestyle adjustment and just the balance there. And the 225 Fund is it's a group of guys that throw up $100 each month.
Did they come up to you, or you went up to them? How'd you
I
find them?
applied for it. I saw them through Twitter.
Okay.
And I sent them an application, and then they got back to us, and it took about 2 or 3 months. But eventually they said, yeah, you're a project we want to fund, and they handed us $1,000 in cash, and just to help with. And honestly,
did you have to report back to them about what you're
no,
going to do with that money?
it was a no questions asked. We want to support something cool. And we told, they asked us, what are we going to spend the money on? And we said, we're going to go out and buy hard drives because all this video footage that we're filming on HD cameras takes up a lot of memory, and we need hard drive space.
Storage.
So that's what we're going to do. And they said, okay, we'd like to help you with that. If you are seriously getting 4 months worth of this footage and everything else, go buy some hard drives. Here's $1,000.
That's amazing.
But yeah, the 225 Fund is 10 guys. They each throw up $100. Makes it $1,000 total. Then they get together and they pick a project that they really think is cool, and they give them $1,000 to kickstart it.
Wow.
No questions asked. That's it.
Huh. That's real interesting.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's something like that exists right here in our local town. So that's definitely worth taking a look. Well, yeah, I wish that we could talk about this all day, but I do just want to ask one more last question. I know you got to go. You're a busy man. What do you like to do for fun outside the office, the kitchen, the fridge? What is it Jay likes to do for fun?
That's a good question. I really like to travel. Just experiencing different cultures, whether that's through eating and drinking or meeting people. Traveling is definitely one of my passions. I really like to sail. I actually have a sailboat on Lake Pontchartrain. It's just a little
that's unreal.
Small boat, but it's docked in Slidell. I don't get to it nearly enough. I'm way too busy right now. And I really feel bad that it gets neglected, but it's a lot of fun, and I've sailed in Ireland and San Francisco, Chicago, Boston area, so all over the country. Alaska, I've sailed outside of Alaska, so I enjoy it. I enjoy the water in that way, and the wind power. There's something beautiful about that.
It's so peaceful. I did it one time about 2 years ago. It was a little small hubbacat, whatever it's called, catamaran. It was very small, and just the fact of going out there on nature's wind without any engines, and just you're like one with the ocean. It sounds Buddhism or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, man, it's really peaceful, and you get a sense of a feeling that you don't normally get when you're biking or traveling or doing another thing, because you're literally living off the land, but in the water. It's a really great feeling.
And I enjoy sports as well. It kind of goes hand in hand with food and beverage, but tailgating, football, baseball, all that kind of stuff.
We're in a college town.
That's I enjoy that too, and I'm getting more and more into film. The more video stuff that I do, the more I'm appreciative of good filmmaking, and I can start to pick out some different things that I like in that world. But I'm so busy right now in the food and beverage world and loving it, and that's one thing that I'm really excited about, is that I certainly have not gotten to a point where I think, oh man, maybe this isn't what I want to do yet.
Right.
I think I have
doing it and loving it.
I think I have found something that I do want to do. Now, what direction that ultimately takes me in, I don't know.
Yeah, it's taking you. Look, blogging, podcasting, TV show, radio show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's every medium there is currently.
I do a lot of writing as well. I write for 225 magazine in Baton Rouge now. I write for
Right.
Louisiana Cooking magazine that's distributed nationwide. So
that's amazing. And you also too have, and I wish we talked about this a little bit more because I have a food product, but I know you have a barbecue coming out and a cookbook. So what's...
Well, I need to talk to you about what you're doing with the salad dressing to get advice on my barbecue sauce. It's not out yet. I have decided that I'm going to use a co-packer to make it and bottle it for me because there's just no way that I can do it myself. But it's just going through that process of taking the next steps to get it done.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
But, it's, we'll see. We'll see.
And no doubt it takes a lot of time to make something like that work. And the cookbook, can we expect that anytime soon?
No. I have a book deal with LSU Press, but I still need to write it.
Okay.
So,
but the concept is to take really cool, awesome recipes and integrate that with the booze of your choice.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, it'll be a bite and booze cookbook. Every recipe in there will have booze cooked into it somehow, whether it's beer, bourbon, vodka, whatever the case is. It'll also be, largely a narrative book. It'll be telling stories. It'll be really, I think, telling a lot of the stories of how I got started with this, of the Tony Chachere's Tailgating Cook-Off, of MasterChef, of all these different things that I've been able to do. So it'll have a lot of those stories in it, but then recipes mixed in there as well.
Okay, well, great, man. I can't thank you enough. Thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate this.
You bet.
To find this interview online, as well as a little lagniappe for myself, you can check it out at DOcast.net. And also, too, Jay will answer a few comments on the blog. So just go check it out, leave a comment, ask him a question. Up next, we are planning to have Jared Loftus on launching a big startup idea, so be sure to subscribe to that. This is Richard and Jay signing out.
Yep.
Do it big.